It's Thursday night. Say yeah. For Strictly Sports College Football Thursday. Hello, friend. Anthony Fleur here with you for another edition of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday. Good to be back this week. We weren't on last week because we all had commitments beyond our control, and Derek Ferrera was nice enough to help us out last week. But we're back here. Michael Bullock running late as always. When he comes in, we'll simply catch him up on what he missed. So before we start, we want to send out a very special congratulations on behalf of all of us here at Strictly Sports to our brand new first time ever World Series champions, the Houston Astros. I mean, big ups to you guys. Well deserved. Way to uplift the city's spirits. No better way to do it than by winning a championship. And, you know, it's, I also want to send a special shout out to our good friend Lindsey McCormick, who was at that wild and crazy Game 5, the greatest game ever. She was there with family and friends, and I can only imagine what she's thinking right now. And parade tomorrow. I mean, man, oh man, it's going to be one hell of a day for the people of Houston. So well deserved. Congrats to everybody. And boy, I've never been more happier for a team than I was with this team. And you got to go on Robert Flores' Twitter. Robert Flores did a wonderful video. He put together this wonderful video tribute to the Houston Astros, and from the old days and the whole 9 yards. I just saw it a little bit ago before we were getting ready for the show, and it's really cool. So you got to check it out. So with all that being said, let's dive right on in to week 10 of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday. Man, I mean, this season's flying. I'm telling you. We got 17 games on the docket. We got some great matchups. Yeah, there's going to be some meh matches in here as well. And this first one that we're going to get into is just that, a meh matchup. And one other note before we start. The rankings that we're going to go by are the rankings used in the very first college football playoff standings or college football playoff rankings that came out this past Tuesday. So we're going by those numbers. So let's start with our first matchup of the week, which will take place tomorrow night at 8 o'clock on ESPN2. The number 23 Memphis Tigers against the Tulsa Golden Hurricane at Skelly Field at H.A. Chapman Stadium. Adam Amin, Dusty Dvoracek, and Molly McGrath will be on the call for ESPN2. Memphis, a 13 to 13.5 point favorite. I mean, I got to go with Memphis. I mean, Memphis, they're on a roll right now. They are facing the same dilemma 2 years ago. I mean, coaching rumors, but we're not going to really get into that. But Memphis has bounced back from its only loss of the season with 4 wins in a row. Riley Ferguson continuing to impress, and I mean, there's nothing really more to say on that. I mean, it's going to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and behind Riley Ferguson and company. I got to go with Memphis to knock off Tulsa. So it should be an easy win for Memphis. So nothing more to say on that. Good old MF, Michael Fletcher, come on in. Number 23, Memphis against Tulsa to kick it off, and then we got some huge games coming up.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Memphis too. I think it was definitely a safe bet to say the very least. I got nothing more to say, so we're just going to, Anthony, you can go on to the next game. Nothing more to say.
All right. Keep your mic on, MF, because you'll be starting off, and oh boy, what a great first game you're going to start off with here. Woohoo. This is classic Big Ten right here. I mean, Big Ten right in your wheelhouse, MF. I mean, we all know you're the Port Authority on the Big Ten. So, and what a great game you got here. High noon on Fox. The number 7 Penn State Nittany Lions on the road against number 24, the Michigan State Spartans, Spartan Stadium, East Lansing, Michigan. This game's going to be on Fox, and it'll be Joe Davis, Brady Quinn, and Bruce Feldman on the call. And we got Penn State as a 9 to 9.5 point favorite. MF, I mean, Penn State had everything in hand against Ohio State, but they choked. What happened?
I'm going to tell you, there's something about that horseshoe. There's something about Ohio State in that stadium. And let me tell you, as much as we may say, a lot of things about that, look, I understand it. I get it. Penn State had them dead to rights. We were thinking this is going to be, this was it. And they found a way to win. JT Barrett came to play. His whole crew came to play. Saquon Barkley, he fell apart. The whole team fell apart. They didn't go. They went to a different style, a different look. Everything that was going their way, it blew up, and they lost. Now you got to go up against Michigan State, who's coming off a big win over Michigan. And they're feasting that. They're thinking we might have a shot at the Big Ten right now. Because now this is opened up for everybody. Ohio State's dreaming about it. Penn State is, that one loss really could hurt them. And Michigan State is saying, hey, if we do our business, if we win out, we get in. We get a chance at the Big Ten title. So, right now, if you think about it, we got eliminator versus eliminator right now. You lose this game, you're out of the Big Ten title game. You're basically dead to rights. Michigan's already out. They already got 2 losses. They lost to Michigan State. They got crushed by Penn State. They're out. But if you're Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan State, right now, you cannot afford to lose any game. This game right here is the equivalent of an eliminator. You lose this game, you're out of the Big Ten title game. You win, not only are you one step closer to the Big Ten title, but you might also have an argument to be in the Final Four in the college football playoff. So this is a huge game, to say the very least, and I can't wait. I got to go with Penn State. I think they're just better than Michigan State. Not by much, but Penn State, they are spitting mad after what happened last week against Ohio State. They are going to take it out on Sparty. Sparty, you better be ready. You better bring your A game, because Penn State is livid over what happened on Saturday. And I think Saquon Barkley and them boys are going to go nuts. This is going to be a tight game, but I got it. 34-28, Penn State wins. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah. Not only did Penn State have that demoralizing loss to Ohio State, MF, Michigan State had a demoralizing loss of their own. They got beat by Northwestern in triple overtime in Northwestern. Biggest win for Northwestern football in a long time, I'll say that. But nonetheless, I mean, I got Penn State winning as well. I mean, Trace McSorley, Saquon Barkley, I think they'll bounce back. But Michigan State, they're going to give them fits, especially their quarterback, Brian Lewerke. School record 445 yards in that epic loss to Northwestern. And, of course, their running game led by the dynamic L.J. Scott. And Spartans have fumbled 22 times. They've only lost 10, though. That's good news. While Penn State has forced 14 fumbles and recovered 11. So Michigan State, basically, you got to hold on to that football. That's all there is to say on that. So, and defending Barkley is going to present a major challenge. 2 years ago, Barkley ran for 103 yards on 17 carries, and even though they got beat down by Michigan State 55-16. And they met in the season finale last year, and Penn State easily rolled 45-12 to win the Big Ten. 376 yards and 4 touchdowns from Trace McSorley. in that one. So nothing more to say on that. I got Penn State winning as well, but Penn State does need to be put on upset alert. That's all there is to say about that. They belong on upset alert because that is not going to be an easy game whatsoever. So even though I do have Penn State winning, my final score, I'm going to go 30-27 Penn State over Michigan State. Haha, staying in the Big Ten. I swear I can hear MF saying, "Oh, I love me some Big Ten." Well, we got another solid Big Ten matchup here. The number 9 Wisconsin Badgers squaring off against the Indiana Hoosiers at Memorial Stadium in Bloomington, Indiana. Another high noon game, this one on ABC. Dave Patch, Greg McElroy, Tom Luginbill, they will have the call for that one. And Wisconsin, 13.5 to 14-point favorites. Really to say here, I got to go with Wisconsin. Alex Hornibrook has been playing lights out lately. Of course, that running game, Jonathan Taylor. I mean, whoa, man, this young man is unbelievable. He is fun to watch, I'm telling you. I mean, another huge game for him last week. I mean, Wisconsin actually had some fits against Illinois. I mean, we thought they were going to, kick the door down and make themselves at home in Champaign, but no. Illinois hung with them, but in the end, it was just too much. Wisconsin, especially Jonathan Taylor, 1,185 yards, 11 touchdowns. 3 times he's gone for more than 200, including a season-high 249 against Nebraska. Hornibrook, 1,570 yards, 13 TDs, but he has thrown 8 interceptions. Indiana, their leading rusher, Morgan Ellison, only 473 yards. They got a good young quarterback in Legault, and or I should say Peyton Ramsey, rather. Coming off a great game of his own last week, 279 yards, 3 TDs. Simi Cobbs Jr., another good receiver. But at the end of the day, though, Wisconsin, they're just too good, and I think Taylor's going to go off again. I think Hornibrook's going to have a solid enough game, so really nothing left for me to say on here. I got Wisconsin. I'm going to say I'm going to go 30. I'm going to go 34-24. Wisconsin over Indiana. Indiana will give them fits, but Wisconsin will pull away late and find a way to win again. So give me Wisconsin here. MF, another good Big Ten matchup for you. Wisconsin, Indiana. I know it could be an easy win for Wisconsin, but this is a trap game because I think this Indiana team, is completely under. This is a completely underrated team. I like this Indiana team. They're fun to watch, but I still think Wisconsin's the better team here.
Oh yeah, Wisconsin's definitely better. Better on the running game. Not much on passing, but running game they're definitely a lot more better. But I will say this: I think it's going to be a lot more closely to the vest, a little more of an interesting situation. But at the end of the day, no, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt here, Anthony. I'm going to say that I think Wisconsin will win it. But yeah, Indiana, I think they're going to give them fits for at least 2-3 quarters. But at the end, Wisconsin, their power and their game should run enough that they'll beat them pretty handily, to say the very least. So nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
You got the next one here. Sorry, it's not a Big Ten game for you. We're gonna be switching gears to the SEC. The SEC has our next matchup, and this is a good one here. Another good one here. I mean, of the 4 high noon games we have here, 3 of them are compelling. The other one not so much, but this next one is a very compelling matchup. High noon on ESPN. Speaking of the aforementioned Lindsey McCormick, her alma mater. Her number 14 ranked Auburn Tigers. Boy, do they have a trap game ahead of them. This is a huge trap game. The Texas A&M Aggies, Kyle Field and College Station. Beth Mowins, Anthony Beck, Rocky Boyman on the call. Auburn, a 15-point favorite. MF, I know Auburn is a 15-point favorite, but don't take Texas A&M lightly. This is the epitome of
upset alert. Upset alert. Fire the cannons, sound the alarm. Auburn, you better come to play at Kyle Stadium, because if you don't, you're gonna lose. That's all I'm gonna say. Just like the Michigan State and the Penn State game, and I think there was one other game, Anthony, that you called upset alert early. I'm calling upset alert right here, right now. Auburn, you better be ready, because this is a trap game if there was one. Look, Texas A&M has not played at all and hasn't played that great. But let me tell you, when they're at home at that stadium with that 12th man alive, it is tough to play in that stadium. You know, I think it was a few years ago, if I remember, Alabama lost in that stadium. So I mean, it can happen. If you take this team lightly, you will get stunned. Even though I think Auburn will win, I think this is going to be closer than what the experts have it. I think this is going to be a shootout too. 35-31, Auburn wins, but I'm putting the warning shot. I would not be surprised if the Aggies pulls off the stunner. Even though they're not allowed to run on the field, they're not allowed to storm the field, because there's some kind of a ruling or a law in the SEC byline that if there is any storming of the field, the college owes the SEC a certain amount of money. I don't know how much it is, but be careful. Do not storm the field. Even though me and Scott Van Pelt would definitely be all for it, unfortunately, there's some stupid law saying that you're not allowed to rush the court or storm the field, or else your school got to pay a fine for it. So please, if the Aggies win, please don't storm the field. Even though, like I said, SVP and myself would be all for it. So, Anthony, it's yours.
I knew it wouldn't be long before you mentioned the Stampede, MF. I mean, I know how much you and Scotty Van Pelt love your Stampedes. Hey, you got two of them last week. I mean, Ohio State with Penn State, and of course, we'll get to another team from another conference that had an equally bigger win last week, because they're in the rankings as well. The road team has actually been dominant in this series. I got to be honest. Since these two teams, started playing each other as part of the SEC West in 2012, neither Auburn nor Texas A&M has been able to win on its home turf. And conventional wisdom is suggesting that trend will continue, as Auburn is a 2-touchdown favorite, and it's easy to see why. They've been consistently good this season, despite close losses to Clemson and LSU. Auburn has also had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, following a 52-20 throttling of Arkansas in the battle of, or as I call it, the Angel Bowl, the beautiful Angel Bowl, where Lindsey McCormick knocked off State of Sorrel. And Gus Malzahn, the head coach of Auburn, 6-0 following open dates in his tenure at Auburn. And the Aggies' season opening flop against UCLA when they blew that 34-point lead, that epic fail, they haven't been the same since then. But with Jarrett Stidham, Cameron Petway, and Kerryon Johnson leading the way for Auburn, I still have to go with Auburn here. I mean, even though Texas A&M is a great defense, their defense has the second highest sack total in the nation with 30. So we're just going to have to we'll have to wait and see what happens. But in the end, though, I got to go with Auburn as well. I could see that being a shootout. Why not? I mean, Kyle Field, yeah, definitely. So, really nothing more to say on that. Give me Auburn. I think I'll go with that same score. I'm at 35-31. That sounds pretty good to me. So, nothing more to say. Let's move on. Final noon game, but this is one of those meh games here. Back in the poll for the first time in a while, the number 16 Mississippi State Bulldogs at home at Davis Wade Stadium at Scott Field in Starkville. They're going to be hosting, the UMass Minutemen. Okay. This game will be on the SEC Network. and it's going to be Taylor Zarzar with Andre Ware and Olivia Harlan. They will be in Starkville for UMass and Mississippi State. And Mississippi State, huge favorite. How huge? We're talking 32-point favorites here, friends. 32-point favorite for yeah, that is correct. 32-point favorite across the board for Mississippi State. It's Mississippi State. What else is there to say? I mean, they went into Kyle Field and whooped up A&M 35-14. They last met last year. Mississippi State won 47-35 in UMass. I believe they played at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. Nick Fitzgerald led the way, had a huge game, and I think he's going to do the same thing as well. And because UMass, their starting quarterback Andrew Ford is hurt, and we'll battle him out. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, I don't know. There's really nothing left for me to say here. I mean, Nick Fitzgerald and UMass, or I should say, in Mississippi State, they're gonna have an easy time with UMass. Lock of the week. Put it down. Put it in the bucket. It's Mississippi State. Nothing more to say on that.
Yeah, Mississippi State, pretty easy game to predict. Nothing more to say, so let's just move on to the next game.
Yep, and excuse me. Keep your mic on, MF, because you got the next one. And I believe, yes, now we're into the 3:30 games now. It's very rare I say this, but a doubleheader for the SEC on CBS. Doubleheader. And the first game will feature the team that came in at #1 in the inaugural college football playoff rankings. No, it is not the Alabama Crimson Tide. It's the Made in Georgia Bulldogs. They're #1. And they're going to be hosting the South Carolina Gamecocks at Sanford Stadium, Athens, Georgia, the infamous Hedges, of course. And I believe it's going to be Carter Blackburn with Aaron Taylor. One other announcer that's going to be joining them, and they're also going to have John Schriffen as the sideline guy, and Georgia, I believe, is a substantial favorite here, which wouldn't surprise me in the least, considering they are now the #1 team. You know, Georgia 23-23.5 point favorites. So there's really nothing left to say. MF, we started with you here. In the inaugural college football playoff rankings, do you agree with that or no?
You know, I have a problem with it. I don't think Georgia deserves to be #1. Don't get me wrong. I love Georgia. I think they've been an amazing team. But if you really think about it, how on earth do you make them #1 after what Alabama has been doing all year long? I mean, okay, I get it. Jason Isabog and the Alabama brass, they're going to go livid right now. If they were not stunned and ticked off after this announcement that they're not #1, but here's the thing. They are in the college football playoff. They are #2. Fine, fair enough. But I think the committee really disrespected them. And to give Georgia #1, even though maybe you can go with the body of work, the body of everything they did beat Notre Dame. That's a major plus. So maybe they're giving that Notre Dame win probably more credence than anything else. And I'm going to say it right now. Maybe they are deserving of the #1 spot. You know, we'll wait and see. Whatever the case may be, it is what it is. So, Anthony, I think Georgia will win this. They'll win it going away. Nothing more to say. It's all yours.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Jacob Eason, Nick Chubb, Sony Michel. I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, Georgia's a huge favorite, 23.5-point favorites. Even though South Carolina's been playing well, I'll be honest. South Carolina's been coming on lately. They're not as bad as you think. They're 6-2 right now. South Carolina. Will Muschamp has done a great job with this team. They're actually playing together, and their sophomore quarterback Jake Bentley has been at control of that offense, which has been averaging almost 32.5 points a game over the last 3 weeks, if you can believe it. But Georgia averaging 284 rushing yards a game behind Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. And the only difference is they are last in passing yards in the SEC, about 162.5. But that number's deceiving because of that running game. And freshman Jake Fromm has been efficient when called upon. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say on that. So between Fromm and Michel and Chubb, Georgia should have no trouble with South Carolina, even though they've been playing well. So, made in Georgia Bulldogs. Nothing more to say on this. Oh. The next game. My goodness, have I been chomping at the bits on this one. 3:30 on NBC. And by the way, the announcers for South Carolina and Georgia is going to be Carter Blackburn, Aaron Taylor, Rick Neuheisel, and John Schriffen. So that's your crew for that game. Next up, the number 3 team in the college football playoff. My God, somebody slap me. Is this a dream? My Notre Dame Fighting Irish, number 3. Wow. My number 3, Notre Dame Fighting Irish at home, Notre Dame Stadium, not under the lights this time. In the afternoon, they're going to be hosting the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest. This game will be on NBC as part of Notre Dame football. You know who's working that game if you're a Notre Dame fan. Mike Tirico, Doug Flutie, the beautiful Catherine Tappan on the sidelines. 14 to 14.5-point favorites. I honestly thought Notre Dame was going to win 7 games all year. I didn't think they were going to have 7 wins at this point. I didn't even think they were going to have a sniff of the college football playoff. I thought maybe one of those after Christmas, before New Year's bowls at best for my team this year. My God, this team has defied my expectations. They have far surpassed my expectations. And now sit at number 3 in the inaugural college football playoff rankings. My God, unbelievable. Brandon Wimbush. What else is there to say? Brandon Wimbush, dynamic quarterback. And for the first time in a long time, Notre Dame has a legitimate, bona fide Heisman Trophy candidate. Number 33. Remember the name. Josh Adams. Remember that name. My God, this kid is so fun to watch. Unbelievable. What he did against SC, and then follow it up with another huge game against NC State last week. You want to talk about a resume, a one-loss resume? Derek Ferreira honestly thought this team was going to be at the least top 5, just north of the rankings. I disagreed. I said they deserved to be one of the 4. And committee, for once, you actually got it right. Thank you for getting it right. Thank you for opening your eyes. And thank you for doing the right thing and putting this team, who is well deserving of a ranking. Here we go. No team has a better one-loss resume than them. Since that tough loss to Georgia, every win has been by at least 3 or more scores. They've been blowing people out, beating people left and right, taking names, the whole 9 yards. I mean, blowout at Boston College, blowout at Michigan State, blowout at home over Miami of Ohio, blowout win over North Carolina, and then the last 2 weeks, beyond impressive, beating 2 very good teams in USC and NC State. And now 7-1 and basically in control of their own destiny here. Notre Dame must avoid a letdown against Wake Forest. They've been on a roll against touted opponents, and now they got to keep it going against unranked Wake Forest in order for their goals to remain achievable. I mean, and that could be scary because the Irish have been dominant in their recent games. They've won 6 in a row, most recently NC State, by at least 20 points for the first time since 1966. And Josh Adams, over 1,000 yards. He is definitely in the Heisman Trophy conversation. Adams might not make the Demon Deacons, who are coming off a 42-32 conquering of Louisville, flinch. They had to contend last week with fleet-footed quarterback Lamar Jackson, the reigning and defending Heisman Trophy winner. Wake Forest holding with that win over Louisville halted a 3-game losing streak, but they're amid a brutal stretch in their schedule. Clemson, Georgia Tech, Louisville, and now Notre Dame. Yeah. And Wake Forest lost its leading receiver, Greg Dortch, underwent season-ending surgery last Saturday night after a 4-touchdown performance against Louisville. It leaves a hole on the offense. And looking to stop the Demon Deacons will be Notre Dame defensive coordinator Mike Elko, who's in his first season after arriving from Wake Forest. So, no question about it. And, of course, their Wake Forest quarterback John Wolford, had a humongous game against Louisville, a career game, had the game of his life. But by winning against Southern Cal and NC State, Notre Dame has defeated top 15 teams in consecutive weeks for the first time since '89. And this will be Notre Dame's lone game against an unranked opponent in a 4-game stretch, with now unbeaten Miami, the U, awaiting the Irish at Hard Rock Stadium next week. Even with lopsided scores, it's not as if Notre Dame hasn't faced adversity. When NC State recovered a blocked punt for a first-quarter touchdown, the Irish trailed for the first time since the Boston College game, September 16th. Notre Dame has forced a turnover or a punt on the opposing team's first possession in all 8 games this season. And for Wake Forest, by defeating Louisville, they toppled the team they had never defeated in the first 4 meetings. And Wake Forest has never defeated Notre Dame, 0-3 all time. Don't get complacent here, guys. We're on a major roll right now. Let's keep it this way. Do not take this team lightly. Do not. Just keep your foot on the gas, push that pedal down, and just keep on rolling like you've been doing. Adams, cement yourself as a legitimate Heisman Trophy contender. Wimbush, keep doing what you're doing. Receiving core, Equanimeous St. Brown, keep doing what you're doing, brother. Defense, keep Wolford in check. But most importantly, do not look past this game before we get to the huge game in Miami next week, which I'm almost certain is probably going to be our game of the week next week. So just keep on rolling, just keep focused, soldier up, do your job. That's all you got to do. Don't take this team lightly. Do not. Of course, I think Notre Dame's going to win. I very much like their chances. 2 touchdown favorites. I think they're going to keep it. They're going to keep it rolling. I think Adams is going to have another humongous game, legitimize himself as a legitimate Heisman Trophy contender. Wimbush, solid game again. St. Brown, big game for him. Defense, I see them holding Wolford. Notre Dame wins. 38-24. Notre Dame over Wake Forest. Keep on rolling. But then the U comes, and then we got the U next week. Boy, howdy, I'm scared.
Yo, you better be. They've been really good this year too, man. You want to talk about a team that's been on a renaissance. The U and Notre Dame, 2 of practically college football's best teams in years. And they were going through their hiccups and the whole 9 yards. But if they become perennial powers again, look out college football. That's all I'm saying. So, yes, Notre Dame, do not look past Wake Forest and think about Miami at Hard Rock next week. Do not do that. Play your game. Play what you've been playing. be that dominant team. And I think they will. They will dominate this game. They just have so many good weapons. And let me tell you, Brian Kelly, you were literally on the proverbial hot seat at the beginning of the year. And it got a little toasty the minute you lost to Georgia. Even though it was a heartbreaking loss and it was a 1-point loss, think about that. They were 2 points away from possibly having an undefeated season right now. So, I mean, yes, it is a bad situation. That was a bad loss, but they've answered the bell after every other matchup. The one against USC, that was really the measuring stick. And they not only won that game, they embarrassed USC. Absolutely crushed them in Notre Dame Stadium. And that had a lot of people talking. That had all of our eyes looking at Notre Dame like, oh no. We might have underestimated the Fighting Irish. We might have not thought this team was going to be good, and look at what we got here. We actually have a legitimate threat. So, what do? You handle your business. You play what you got to play with. You're playing with the house money. Nobody expected you to do this good, this amazing, this strong at this point in the season, but you are. Now you just got to handle your business, play with the same conviction and the same confidence that you've been doing all season long, and I'm pretty sure you're going to win this game. So nothing more to say. I got the Notre Dame Fighting Irish winning. Anthony, it's yours.
And you agree with Notre Dame being one of the top 4, MF? No doubt about it?
I mean, the way that they've been playing all year long, they deserve to be where they are right now. Yes, they are deserving of one of the top 4 spots in college football. But I will say this. They might. The biggest, that game against Miami is going to be a make or break moment for Notre Dame. If they win that game, they're going to make the college football playoff. If they lose, they're gone. No doubts about it. Because a 2-loss team getting in there, no chance. You cannot afford to lose that next game. If you win, you're in. If you lose, I think you're on the outside looking in. I think you're on to a New Year's. You could be on a New Year's 6 bowl, but you're definitely playing on New Year's Day.
Fair enough. Keep your mic on, MF. You got the next one here. One of our games of the week. Oh boy, what a game this is going to be. 3:30 on ABC. The number 4 Clemson Tigers squaring off against the number 20 North Carolina State Wolfpack at Carter Finley Stadium in Raleigh, North Carolina. Joe Tessitore, Todd Blackledge, Holly Rove on the call for ABC. And the spread favors Clemson by 7.5. Whoa, MF, what a huge game here. Clemson, NC State, one of our games of the week. Clemson, 7.5-point favorites. They come in at number 4. Agree or disagree?
I think they're getting the national championship rub. That's why. In my eyes right now, they are the defending national champions. They've only had that one hiccup, which was against Syracuse at the Carrier Dome, and it was only a 3 point. It wasn't like a big time blowout. It was only a 3-point loss. So no harm, no foul. However, there are a lot of other teams underneath them that's got a legitimate gripe, and I definitely believe that once everything starts to sort out a little bit, we're going to wait and see what happens. Like I said, Notre Dame and Clemson right now are very shaky. One loss from either one of these teams, and they're gone. There's no doubt in my mind. Unlike with Georgia at the top, and we haven't even said Alabama's name yet, but we will. And they are number 2. They are undefeated. They have not lost the game yet. So they got a little more leeway game or a Clemson because they've already got one loss on their resumes. One more loss, and I think they're goners. And like I said, look at all the teams that are waiting in the wings. We have Ohio State. We got Ohio State. We have Miami, who's undefeated, by the way, and they got no consideration up to this point, and that's a blasphemy in my eyes. Penn State, they just got heartbroken, but they still have a legitimate chance to get in here. So there's a lot of moving parts right now that is wide open. At least the top two, I think, is right now secured. But number 3, number 4, you're on shaky ground in my eyes. I think Clemson will get the job done, even though NC State has been very good this year, surprisingly good. I just think Clemson, now that they are a top 4 team, they could definitely get a chance to play, to defend their national title. They're not going to let this get away now. They know as long as you win out and win all your remaining games, you're in. So I think they have that extra motivation right now to get the job done, play in their system, and play Clemson football like they have been. And no doubts in my mind, they will win this game. I got them winning this one 31-27. Anthony, it is yours.
Yeah. One of our games of the week. I mean, so many wonderful matchups. This is honestly just as much of a loaded docket, if not even more loaded than when we had that double main event a couple of weeks ago, when we had USC and Notre Dame and Michigan and Penn State. But one of our many games of the week right here, Clemson and NC State, and Kelly Bryant and Ray McCloud. And I still like Clemson here. I mean, even though NC State, I'll give NC State credit. I mean, they gave Notre Dame fits early. They certainly did. But they did lose their best player. They lost their star running back, Nyheim Hines, sprained ankle against Notre Dame, and only 2 carries for 6 yards in that game, which ended his streak of 3 straight 100-yard games. Ryan Finley, I expect him to have a huge game here. And Clemson has won their last 5 meetings with NC State, and they dominate the series all time, 56-28 with 1 tie. So Dabo Swinney, their coach, 96-29 career record, tied for second on Clemson's all-time victory list with Danny Ford. So I think he'll surpass him here, even though NC State, I think they'll do what they did to Notre Dame, give Clemson big-time fits early, but I think ultimately Clemson will find a way to pull away and get it done behind Kelly Bryant and Ray McCloud. So I'm going with Clemson. I'm going to go 28-24 Clemson over NC State. Pretty much these remaining games on here are all humongous games here. Here's a great Big Ten matchup for you, MF. You're going to love this one. The number 6 Ohio State Buckeyes against the Iowa Hawkeyes at Kinnick Stadium in Iowa. ESPN has it. That's a 3:30 kickoff. Steve Levy, Brian Griese, Tom McShay, they will be there. Ohio State, a 17.5 to 18-point favorite. 6th, coming off of that humongous comeback against Penn State last week, and I think they'll keep the momentum rolling here. I got to go with Ohio State. I mean, JT Barrett, game of his life. I think he's going to have a huge game here. But Iowa, this is another humongous trap game. This is definitely an upset alert for Ohio State, even though I still think they'll win. But Iowa, I mean, you know how tough they are, especially at home. Just ask Michigan last year. Ask Penn State earlier this year. They Their great running back, Akram Wadley, Nate Stanley, who's having a hell of a year. Stanley and Wadley are going to have huge games for Iowa, but I just think ultimately Ohio State's just a better team, especially with J.T. Barrett and J.K. Dobbins, and along with K.J. Hill and Johnny Dixon on the receiving core, and their sack master, Nick Bosa, the younger brother of Joey Bosa, who's currently with the LA Chargers. So should be a very good game. But at the end of the day, I think Ohio State is going to find a way to ultimately get it done. I'm going to go 30-20, Ohio State over Iowa. Keep the momentum going from the Penn State comeback. So nothing more to say. MF, I mean, here you go, man. Right back in your wheelhouse. Ohio State, Iowa. Oh, is this a trap game?
It's not only a trap game. I'm calling upset alert again. Ohio State, you kind of got very lucky that you came back on a team like Penn State. And remember, there's something about Iowa, man. Going into that stadium, I know it because my heart got broken around this time last year when Michigan went into that stadium and we got upsetted. It ruined our season and it derailed us at the end. Is it possible it could happen again? Very much so. No doubt about it. Even though I think Ohio State's going to win, it's going to be tight. It's going to be close. 24-21 Ohio State. But again, upset alert.
Amen. Amen to that, MF. Moving on to our next 3:30 kickoff on ESPN2. Another great matchup. This time in the Big 12. How about this? The number 15 Iowa State Cyclones squaring off against the West Virginia Mountaineers. Mountaineer Field at Milan Puskar Stadium. ESPN2 will have this one. We got our old friend, Mr. Holy Cow, Mike Patrick, along with Tommy Tuberville and Paul Carcaterra. They're going to be on the call. And West Virginia, a 2.5-point favorite. But MF, I got to ask the question as we start this with you here. How about Iowa State? Iowa State, number 15, and knocked off TCU last week and knocked them out of the playoff picture. So give it up.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing was that they played the perfect game. They held, TCU in check. They were able to disrupt that momentum, get them frustrated. At the end of the day, they deserve to win the game. No, I got nothing bad to say. Congratulations. Well done to you guys. You played great. You deserve to win. So, no, I got nothing bad to say. So, for me, this is a great victory, a worthy victory. And now you're going up against a really good opponent. But I got Iowa State. I think they're going to keep the momentum going. I got Iowa State winning. Nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
I agree. I like Iowa State as well. Here's the thing. They've beaten 2 top 5 teams in the same season. They've never done that before. You remember they went into Norman, Oklahoma and upset then number 3 Oklahoma. And then a week ago at home, they knocked off TCU 14-7. And after winning just 11 games over the last 4 years, Iowa State 3-9 in their head coach Matt Campbell's first year and started 2-2. But since a 17-7 loss to Texas to open the Big 12 season, Iowa State has beaten the number 3 Oklahoma, steamrolled Kansas 45-0, and Texas Tech 31-13, and upset TCU 14-7. So their quarterback Kyle Kempt, I see him having another huge game, no question about it. And in West Virginia, I mean, they played Oklahoma State tough, but they came up just short, 50-39. And they dropped to 5-3 overall, 3-2 in the Big 12. And remember, we've got a Big 12 championship game this time around, which is going to be on December the 2nd at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Whoa, Nelly, is that going to be fun? Top 2 teams get to play in that game, by the way. There are no divisions. So despite having the Big 12's top returning rusher, Justin Crawford, They're struggling against the run. I mean, they struggle with the run, I should say. They're 69th in the country in running yards, about 161 on the game. So Iowa State has had success against ranked opponents. West Virginia has, not so much. I mean, yeah, Holgorsen's teams won 4 of their first 5 against ranked foes, but they're just 3-17 in their last 20, and they've lost 10 of their last 11. So that's why you got to go with Iowa State. Even though West Virginia won last year, 49-19, they kicked the door down and made themselves at home at Iowa State. But nothing more to say here. I'm gonna go with Iowa State to win, keep that momentum rolling. 30. I'm gonna go maybe 31-21, I guess. So I'm gonna go with Iowa State to keep on rolling. So move on. Another big game. This one in the Pac-12, 3:30 on Fox. The number 21 Stanford Cardinal against the number 25 Washington State Cougars, Clarence D. Martin Stadium, Pullman, Washington. Justin Kutcher, Petros Papadakis, Mark Hilfrich on the call. And I believe it is Washington State with a 2.5-point edge here. So, man, I got to go with Washington State. I mean, the only reason why star running back Bryce Love, well, he hasn't been ruled out yet, but Stanford's hoping that he's going to come back. And if he does come back, he's the nation's leading rusher, 198 yards a game. And without him, they just barely escaped a 15-14 win over Oregon State last Thursday in Corvallis. But Washington State, they need a better game out of Luke Falk, who was pulled in the first half of last Saturday's 58-37 loss at Arizona. Stanford is 3-0 at home, but 2-2 on the road. Washington State 6-0 at home, including wins over USC and Boise State. So there's really nothing left for me to say here. I mean, this game is basically these two teams, along with Washington, are the 3 teams battling for the Pac-12 North Division title. Stanford is hosting Washington next Friday night, November 10th, and could assure itself a berth in the conference title game by beating both Washington schools. And then, of course, the Cougars play at Washington on November in 3 weeks, the infamous Apple Cup, and they would clinch a spot in the Pac-12 title game by winning their final 3 games. So, a lot of Pac-12 implications in this one, but without Love's running threat, quarterback Keller Chris has struggled, 141 yards and about 4.5 yards per attempt. Yeah, that's not going to get it done. So if Bryce Love plays, maybe I give the nod to Stanford, but with this game being in Washington and with how dominant Washington State has been at home, I got to go with Washington State behind Luke Falk. So 27-24, Washington State over Stanford. MF, Washington State at home against Stanford. Pac-12 North Division title implications aplenty in this one.
And I'm going to go with Washington State as well. I totally agree with you with everything that you just said there, Anthony Florio. There's nothing more to say. Let's just move on to the next game.
Yes, sir. MF, are you ready for the game of the week? You got it. 4 o'clock on Fox Sports 1. This, to me, even though there's a lot of great matchups, I personally think this is the game of the week right here. The number 5 Oklahoma Sooners, the number 11 Oklahoma State Cowboys, Boone Pickens Stadium, Stillwater, Oklahoma. One word: Bedlam.
Bedlam.
Gus Johnson. Oh, yeah, our man. Gus Johnson, Joe Klatt, Jenny Taft, they'll be there. And believe it or not, Oklahoma State, 2.5 to 3-point favorites in this one.
I'm not shocked with that.
All right, MF. Game of the week. Bedlam.
Yeah, there's really nothing more to say. One of the biggest rivalries in college football history. This is another one of those that's in the archives, man. If you go through the years that these two teams have gone at it, it's always been one of those type of rivalries that you just kind of it only has one word. You just said it. Bedlam. When you say that word, you already know what happens. That little red of Oklahoma gets a little more redder. That little orange of Oklahoma State gets a little more oranger, because there's just that deep down blood, sweat, and tears, and the dislike for either school. It is on. This is what you want to see. Two teams genuinely do not like each other, and there's a Big 12 conference title on the line this time around, or a chance to go to the Big 12 conference title in here. There's nothing more to say. Anthony, you said it. It's all about bedlam. And for me, even though I think Oklahoma State, yes, they are the favorites, I'm going with them in this game. I just think they've just been red hot. They're looking a lot more better than they have in the past. Nothing more to say. For me, I'm definitely on the Bedlam train, and I'm going Oklahoma State, the Cowboys, to rise up and win Bedlam in a high scoring affair. 41-35. Anthony, it's yours.
Well, I think we might have a difference of opinion here, MF. I mean, yeah, it's in Oklahoma State, it's in Stillwater. I get that. I understand it. And Oklahoma State's a great team. I mean, Mason Rudolph, James Washington. I mean, those two are fun to watch. And of course, Oklahoma State struggled with West Virginia in Morgantown last week. Oklahoma, on the other hand, um, they had some fits with Texas Tech before ultimately pulling away in that one. But I just feel something about Oklahoma right now. I mean, I just feel something about Baker Mayfield. I mean, think about this. Two legitimate Heisman Trophy contenders here. Baker Mayfield, Mason Rudolph. And because of the bedlam and the whole 9 yards, that's why I consider this the game of the week, because I think this is going to be a high scoring shootout. I got it even more higher scoring than you do, MF, with all due respect. I got Oklahoma winning. Listen to this, 51-48. That's my final score. So, really, nothing more to say. That's the game of the week. Oklahoma State. Boy, howdy, is that going to be fun to watch. Now we move on to the primetime games. 7:15 kickoff on ESPN, staying in the Big 12. The number 8 TCU Horned Frogs back at home after that humiliating loss to Iowa State in Ames last week. Amon G. Carter Stadium, Fort Worth, Texas. They're at home against the Texas Longhorns. And this game will be on ESPN. I believe it's Bob Wischusen, Brock Huard, Allison Williams. They will be there. And we have TCU as a 7-point favorite. I got to go with TCU. I think TCU is hopping mad after that embarrassing loss to Iowa State in Ames. I mean, losing 14-7, it would be foolish to count them out of the playoff picture. I mean, and this is a brutal 4-game stretch for TCU, and the stretch begins on Saturday. Entering play, TCU, Oklahoma State, and Iowa State are tied atop the Big 12 standings. Sprint to the finish, and the first two to the tape get to go to the Big 12 championship at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas on December 2nd. Next month. I mean, TCU can still get there, but they have a lot of work to do. Kenny Hill, horrible game, 125 yards, 2 picks, fumbled in the red zone. Kyle Hicks and Darius Anderson, well, they were for Iowa State, but no, Kyle Hicks and Darius Anderson with TCU. That's right. Those two guys combined for 175 yards on 24 carries. I think both men will have huge games here. Texas, I mean, they had a easy win at Baylor, and before then they played 5 games in which the opponent was ranked at the time or has since been ranked. Texas only has 2 of those wins against Kansas State and Iowa State, but they lost the other 3: USC, the Red River game with Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State. But freshman quarterback Sam Ehlinger, he's been cleared from concussion protocol. He will play. Texas leads the all-time series 62-24 with a tie, but TCU has won the last 3, one shy of its longest winning streak from 35 to 38. In Big 12 meetings, TCU 4-1, and 2 years ago, Texas 50-7. And in the last 3 meetings, TCU has outscored Texas 129-26. That good enough for you? TCU, no doubt about it. I'm gonna try 35-24 TCU over Texas. Bounces back from that loss to Iowa State. Nothing more to say. MF, you heard the numbers. It's got to be TCU.
It's got to be TCU. It probably will be TCU. There's really nothing more to add to that, so we're just going to let it be. Florio, it is all yours.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. What do we have on the docket next? Another 7:15 game, this time I believe this is the American Athletic Conference. The number 18 UCF Knights, the University of Central Florida Knights, squaring off against the SMU Mustangs at Gerald J. Ford Stadium. This game will be on ESPN2, and it will be Anish Shroff along with Ahmad Brooks and Roddy Jones. They will be there, and UCF 14.5-point favorites. So MF, UCF now looking like the darling of college football, looking like they could be in that mid-major loophole there.
Yeah, the mid-major loophole that actually guarantees them a spot in the New Year's Six. So yeah, they definitely have a chance to do it. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But it's going to be an interesting thing. UCF has looked really good lately. I think they will win the game as well. So nothing more to say. Anthony, I'll give it to you.
Well, MF, SMU became bowl eligible with last week's comeback win over Tulsa. And they're going to need to put together a complete game Saturday if they want to upset Central Florida. SMU's quarterback Ben Hicks, huge game, 338 yards, 2 TDs, rallying from a second half deficit to beat Tulsa 38-34. 6-2 SMU. Their best start since '84. Bowl eligible for the first time in 5 years. As for Central Florida, did they pound Austin Peay 73-33. 7-0 for the first time in school history. Sole possession of first in the American Conference's East Division, thanks to South Florida getting upset by Houston. So, averaging 530 yards a game, 5th in the nation, 30 or more points in every game this season. Quarterback Mackenzie Milton, 73% of his passes, 19 TDs, 3 interceptions. He's a semifinalist for the Maxwell Award, awarded to the best player in collegiate football. Traquan Smith, 9 TD catches. I'm expecting those 2 young men to have a huge game here. So I'm going to go with UCF to keep it going. I'm going to say maybe 34-13. I'm going with UCF over SMU. 4 games left. Oh boy, are we going to have some fun here. The other half of the SEC on CBS doubleheader. A primetime game. And oh boy, is this a primetime game. The number 2 Alabama Crimson Tide at home at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, hosting the number 19 LSU Tigers. This is the main crew for the SEC on CBS. Brad Nessler, Gary Danielson, Allie LaForce, they'll be there in Tuscaloosa. Alabama, a 21-point favorite. Yeah. I consider this the number 2 game of the week for some odd reason because of the history of these two, especially prime time Saturday night. Always fun to watch, always a treat. But Alabama, number 2 in the rankings, which baffles me. I agree with MF totally. But a month ago, it looked like this game was going to be an easy win for Alabama. But LSU, Tigers have dropped 2 out of 3 blowout losses to Mississippi State, and an embarrassing home loss to Troy. But since then, LSU's won 3 in a row, and they still have a chance to win the West. And what a turnaround they've had. Dating back to the 2012 title game, Alabama has won 6 straight in this rivalry. And they ended the matchup leading the SEC in scoring, rushing, total offense, scoring defense, rushing defense, and total defense. Alabama leads the all-time series 51-25 with 5 ties, including a 10-0 win in Baton Rouge last year. Alabama has won 8 of the last 10 meetings. And of course, with Jalen Hurts and Damian Harris, both Scarborough, leading the way for Alabama. Of course, you got to go with them. LSU with Danny Etling, solid quarterback, but not overly spectacular. They got a very good running back in Darius Geis, starting to show the form that has made him a likely high first-round pick in next spring's NFL draft. But he's been plagued by a leg injury for most of the year. But a couple weeks ago, he looked amazing, going for 276 yards against Ole Miss. This game has turned into a huge rivalry through the years. And since 2007, both teams have been ranked in the top 20 in each one of these games that they've played. And this one's not different. But LSU, I hope you brought your gear, my friends, because you're going to be in for a long night, I'm afraid. Roll Tide roll. Bama wins. Nothing more to say. MF, number 2 game of the week. LSU, Bama. A rare Saturday night, SEC on CBS. It don't get no better.
It don't get no better, and absolutely, without a doubt, the way that this thing's going to go, yeah, I'm with you on this one, Anthony. Roll Tide roll. Roll Tide indeed. I think they're going to win this well. What to say, so Anthony, let's just move on.
Oh boy, MF, we got another big game of the week. I could consider this the number 3 game of the week. Also in your wheelhouse. The Saturday night game of the week on ABC in the ACC. The number 10 Miami, Florida Hurricanes, the U, at Hard Rock Stadium. They're going to be hosting the number 13 Virginia Tech Hokies. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Maria Taylor. They will be at Hard Rock Stadium. And believe it or not, Virginia Tech, 2.5 to 3 point favorites. I know you got something to say about that, MF.
Well, what Miami's been doing this year has been amazing. They've had a big run, a big opportunity. They've been playing great, no doubt about it, undefeated. This season's been a successful season for them. It's Virginia Tech. I get it. It is the Hokies and, the mystique and the whole 9 yards. But I don't think Miami's intimidated this time around. And I think they are the better team. I disagree with the prognosticators. I think they got this wrong. I got Miami winning this game. It's going to be a hard-fought game. But I do got the Hurricanes winning this one. Nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah. Miami's won 4 in a row by a combined total of 18 points. The 4-point victory over Florida State, a 1-point win over Georgia Tech, 8-point win over Syracuse, and last week's 5-point win and struggle against North Carolina didn't keep Miami from earning a number 10 ranking in the college football playoff rankings, going into the Saturday primetime matchup with number 13 Virginia Tech. Certainly a win over the Hokies by any margin should have a positive impact on the rankings. Virginia Tech, Justin Fuente's team, they've won 3 in a row since dropping a 31-17 decision to Clemson, including a 59-7 rout of North Carolina. the same Carolina team that pushed Miami to the brink before losing 24-19 in Chapel Hill last week. Both Virginia Tech and Miami have first-year starters at quarterback, and both have been successful. Miami's Malik Rosier, 57% of his passes, averaging just under 296 yards a game. And Virginia Tech's quarterback Josh Jackson, 62.3% completion, 254 yards a game. They don't have impressive rushing numbers. Rosier averaging 30 yards a game on the ground, Jackson 24. This game has been a key matchup for both teams since they began competing against one another on a regular basis back in the 1990s when they were in the old Big East. After losing the first 12 meetings, Va Tech won 5 in a row from 95 to 99 to really ignite the rivalry that has continued since both joined the ACC in 2004. Over the past 17 meetings, the Hokies have won 9, Hurricanes 8. But more significantly, the Hokies have won 6 Coastal Division and 4 ACC championships since the league split in 2005. Hurricanes still looking for their first division and conference crowns. This game could decide which team wins this year's titles. The victor will have a leg up in the division race, especially if it's Miami. A win over the Hokies would make the Hurricanes the only undefeated team in the conference. It would give them a 2-game lead over the Hokies in the division race, plus the advantage in any potential tiebreaker. In fact, if the Hurricanes win, the only team that could beat them out of their first title game appearance would be Virginia. Cavaliers have lost twice in league play, going into their game against Georgia Tech, and could wind up in a tie with the Hurricanes if they would win out and Miami loses one other league game. One more loss, however, would eliminate Virginia from the race. Virginia and Miami meet in Miami on November the 18th, and Miami will finish the regular season in Pittsburgh at Heinz Field against Pitt on Black Friday. So, a lot of huge implications in the ACC, but in the end, I'm going with Miami as well. 27-24 should be a great game, no question about it. 2 games left, and they're both in the Pac-12. This one is at 10 o'clock on FS1. The number 12 Washington Huskies at home at Alaska Airlines Field at Husky Stadium. They're going to be hosting the Oregon Ducks. Aaron Goldsmith, AJ Hawk, Danny Cannell, they have the call from Washington, and it is Washington as a 17.5-point favorite. I got to go with Washington. Once upon a time, Oregon was actually playing really well, and Oregon was actually back in the rankings for a minute. But since then, yeah, they've fallen off the radar. They've dropped down to 5-4. Washington ended 12 seasons of frustration when they punished Oregon last year. 70-21 beatdown in Eugene, Oregon. Jake Browning, Myles Gaskin. I mean, they're 12th in the rankings. Their one loss was to Arizona State back on October 14th. And it leaves Washington in a must-win mode to stay alive. And Gaskin had 169 yards against UCLA. Washington pounded them 44-23, over 300 yards on the ground, 333 to be exact. Gaskin is primed to go over 1,000 yards again. And yeah, there's really nothing left for me to say on this. I got to go with Washington. I think Oregon will give him fits. Royce Freeman, their great receiver, and Braxton Burmeister playing well, but ultimately it's got to be Washington, especially at home. So give me Washington behind Browning and Gaskin as always. So MF, Oregon, Washington. Things started promising for our friend Eric Carrier's Oregon team, but boy, howdy, have they gone downhill and not in a good way.
Yeah, they have been going downhill in the worst way, and yeah, they have not played good at all. And Washington is one of those teams that I do believe is going to be a dangerous team enough. Give me Washington. Nothing more to say. Anthony, let's move on.
One game left, MF, and you started off. It's also in the Pac-12. 10:45 kickoff on ESPN. Good matchup here. the number 17 USC Trojans back at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. They're going to be hosting the number 22 Arizona Wildcats. Yeah, Arizona back in the top 25. Mark Jones, Rod Gilmore, Quint Kessenich on the call. USC, 7.5-point favorite. MF, I mean, you would think USC is an easy favorite here, but don't count out Arizona. Arizona back in the rankings, especially after a huge upset last week.
And the thing is, they are dangerous. They are dangerous. And yes, I will agree with what you just said there. I think they are better off than where they're at right now. And I truly believe wherever this ranking is going to go or whatever is going to happen from here on in, you gotta believe that they are good enough and deserve to be in where they're at. So no, I agree with what you just said there. This is easy for me to call. So um, I think, you know what? Actually going to call for the upset here. I think Arizona is going to win. Being at home, you don't know what to expect with SC. So I think this is going to happen. I think 22 is going to topple 17 here. So give me Arizona in the upset. Anthony, it's yours.
22. Oh, man. Wow.
Moses, you idiot.
Mm-hmm. I knew you'd remember that. I knew you would.
Mm-hmm.
One of our all-time favorite moments in the world of professional wrestling. Anywho, oh, I'm sorry, good brother. I got to disagree with you. I got to go with SC. I mean, it's in the Coliseum for one. I mean, hey, I'll give Zona credit where credit is due. They pulled off a humongous upset last time out.
Actually, I stand corrected. I thought this was in Arizona. No, I stand corrected. I got USC. I thought the game was in Arizona. That was my bad. That's my fault.
No worries, MF. But it's SC. I mean, even though Arizona, you know, they came. I mean, Brandon Dawkins, great quarterback, and their sophomore Khalil Tate, who filled in for Dawkins. Dawkins injured, Khalil Tate came in, and Tate has been unreal, especially in that running game. And they won 4 in a row. They knocked off Washington State. Very big deal. Your old friend Rich Rodriguez, MF, your old friend, doing his best coaching job in forever and a day. But if USC is to remain in control of its course to a conference title, the Trojans must now do what no opponent has done: solve the Tate puzzle. But I think Sam Darnold is going to have a bounce back game. And over this 4-game stretch, Arizona, they've averaged 49 points a game, a high watermark of 58 coming against Washington State. And the change in offensive efficiency has also changed Zona's fortunes in the Pac-12 race. They were projected for a second straight last place finish in the South, and now plays USC. This is for the division lead, by the way. And USC coming off a blowout loss to Notre Dame, much to my delight. But running back Ronald Jones II and Sam Darnold bounce back games. So really nothing left for me to say. I mean, you never know, MF. Arizona could pull an upset, but I'm sorry, man, I don't see it. Especially in the Coliseum. If it was in Arizona, I'd give you the benefit of the doubt, but not in the Coliseum. No way. SC wins 28-21. So nothing more to say except let's move the power poll. Now our rankings are not reflective. I repeat, not reflective of the college football playoff rankings. Just a little disclaimer there for you. I'm going to start it off at number 10. I do have one dud. That dud is TCU. Losing to Iowa State. Outside looking in. So my number 10 is the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Oklahoma State is my number 10. They got by West Virginia, 50-39, high scoring affair in Morgantown, 7-1. Huge game on Saturday when they go up against Oklahoma, Bedlam. I mean, boy, howdy, is that going to be fun. So, and after this, they got to go to Iowa State, and then they're at home against the two Kansas teams. State comes in on the 18th, and then Kansas ends the year. So if Oklahoma State can get past Oklahoma, then they got to go up against Iowa State. Next two games are tough. And then you got a potential trap game against K-State, and then an easy one against Kansas. But Mason Rudolph, James Washington, they're going to have big games, but I just don't see them knocking off Oklahoma. If I'm wrong, hey, I'm wrong. I'll give MF credit where credit is due. We disagreed on this one, but we'll see what happens. But there is no denying Oklahoma State should be in the rankings, and they are. They're my number 10. MF, how about it?
No, I'm not going to disagree with that. Oklahoma State is number 10, no doubt about that. Came in for Washington, but they're on the outside looking in. Of course, DCL, the dud of the week, no doubt about that. So we'll just move on. And my number 9, okay, I know now they're number 9 in the AP poll, number 10 in the college football ranking poll. They are undefeated. However, I need to see a little more from this team. Miami Hurricanes. The reason why I'm putting them at number 9 is because of the fact that all these other teams that's in the upper echelon right now, they've done better. They deserve to be where they're at. Where maybe a team here or there, if they slip up, we see Miami rise. But I want them to win. And there's a big game Saturday against Vatech. You win that game, you are literally maybe one massive win away, because the only other team I think that's standing in their way would be Clemson. They knocked them off. That's it. You got the ACC pretty much locked up in your possession. As long as you win the ACC title, then we might be talking about the Hurricanes being in the college football playoff. And I know somewhere my dad didn't even think it was even possible to see the Hurricanes in there, and they might get in. They just got to handle their business. Number 9, Miami Hurricanes. Anthony, go.
Yep, you got it, MF. It is the U. The U comes in at number 9. Best start for this team in a long time. Very impressive indeed, and night major implications when they host Vatech as part of the ABC Saturday night game of the week with Fowler and Herbie. Should be a lot of fun. And they struggled against North Carolina. They should have had an easy time with North Carolina, but then again, the game was in Chapel Hill, for goodness sake. So that's why they had a tough time. But 4 very tough games. Vatech here, and then they got the big one next Saturday night, or I wouldn't be surprised if it's a Saturday night game. I wouldn't be surprised at all. They got Notre Dame coming in, and then they got Virginia coming in, and then they end the year against a middle-of-the-road Pittsburgh team. So we're going to find out what this U team is really made of, MF. I mean, these next 3 games are going to be very telling. So Vatech, Notre Dame, and Virginia at home. So let's see what Malik Rozier and company are made of. Nothing more to say on that. So you got it, buddy. The U at number 9. Number 8, Oklahoma Sooners. I got to go with Oklahoma as my number 8. They had a bit of a rough time with Texas Tech, but they ultimately pulled away in the end. Baker Mayfield and company getting it done. A 49-27 win over Texas Tech. Bedlam this week, and then they got TCU coming in next week. Another game of the week contender right there. And then an easy one at Kansas, and then trap game at home against West Virginia. But Oklahoma controls its own destiny. We got a 4-way tie atop the Big 12 standings. We got TCU, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and Iowa State all at 4-1. Remember, top 2 are going to AT&T Stadium in front of probably 100,000 plus screaming fans. So I got Oklahoma at number 8. Nothing more to say. MF, let me have your number 8, and then I'll catch Bullet though.
All right, my number 8, Anthony. I am actually in full agreement as well. This is where I also had Oklahoma. So, all right, welcome to the show. Catch them up.
All right, Michael Bullet, come on in. Let's get you caught up here. Let's get a rapid fire prediction on all the games. We've already gone through the games. We're in the Power Pool now. So,
all right.
So, yeah, rapid fire. Here we go. Number 23, Memphis against Tulsa.
You said Memphis and Tulsa? I got Memphis.
Number 7, Penn State. Number 24, Michigan State.
I got the Nittany Lions winning this one.
Number 9, Wisconsin against Indiana.
Got the Wisconsin Badgers going all the way.
Number 14, Auburn against Texas A&M.
I got the Auburn Tigers winning this one.
UMass against number 16, Mississippi State.
What was it again?
UMass and Mississippi State.
I got Mississippi State winning.
South Carolina against number 1, Georgia.
I got the Maine and Georgia Bulldogs winning this one. I mean, I still can't get over the fact that Georgia's number 1.
Wake Forest against number 3, Notre Dame.
Huh, are you kidding me? It's the Fighting Irish. No question.
Number 4, Clemson against number 20, NC State.
I got the Clemson Tigers winning this one.
Number 6, Ohio State against Iowa.
I got the Buckeyes winning this one.
Number 15, Iowa State against West Virginia.
What was the matchup again?
Number 15, Iowa State, West Virginia.
Oh, I got Iowa State winning this one.
Number 21, Stanford against number 25, Washington State.
That's a tough one, but I got to go with Stanford in this one.
Game of the week, Bedlam. Number 5, Oklahoma. Number 11, Oklahoma State.
Ooh, this is the one I'm going to have a lot of interest in, but I got to go with the Oklahoma Sooners, Boomer Sooner, all the way with this one.
Texas against number 8, TCU.
I got the TCU Horned Frogs winning this one.
Number 18, UCF against SMU.
Oh, I got UCF winning this one.
The number 2 game of the week. Number 19, LSU. Number 2, Alabama. Primetime SEC on CBS.
I got the Crimson Tide winning this one.
Number 3 game of the week. Number 13, Virginia Tech against number 10, Miami, the U on ABC.
It's all about the U. The Hurricanes winning this one.
Oregon against number 12, Washington.
I got Washington winning this one.
And number 22, Arizona against number 17, USC in the Coliseum.
I got the Trojans going all the way with this one. So that pretty much does it.
Yep, you're all caught up. We had Oklahoma State at number 10, Miami at number 9, and Oklahoma at number 8 in the power poll. I'm sure you agree with all of that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're gonna agree with all that.
Very good.
Yeah, see, I'm pretty much gonna probably agree on everything. So why don't you guys just finish it up?
Alrighty. My number 7, even though they lost, they only lost by 1 point. I'm not going to punish them that hard. Number 7, Penn State Nittany Lions. They had everything well in hand against Ohio State before the epic collapse. 38. 1-1 in that tough 3-game stretch. They beat Michigan, but they lost at Ohio State. And now the final game of that stretch at Michigan State before they have Rutgers coming in, Nebraska coming in, and then they end at Maryland. So it's looking promising for Penn State, even though they got tripped up. But nonetheless, I got Penn State at number 7, MF. About it.
Yeah, Penn State number 7. Tough loss, no doubt about it. I don't think none of us saw that coming, but hey, we're gonna fix, which would be Clemson, the defending national champions. Number 4 in the college football playoff rankings, but number 6 in our power poll this week. They've been playing great. They had that one hiccup against Syracuse, like I said, but they've been consistently good. Nothing bad to say. So, Anthony, it is all yours.
Yep, Clemson, reigning defending national champs. They are at number 6, and one loss against them. We talked about that earlier, and tough game coming up. A very tough game coming up at NC State. Don't take that lightly. I should know. They gave Notre Dame fits before Notre Dame ultimately pulled away, but Kelly Bryant, Ray McLeod, and company, I think they should bounce back. They bounced back with a 24-10 win over Georgia Tech last week, and NC State next. Then they host the disappointing Florida State Seminoles, and then they got the Citadel coming in, and then at South Carolina. So this is really the last tough game for Clemson because let's face it, Florida State, hard times for them. Citadel, get real. And then South Carolina maybe could give them some fits because South Carolina's been playing well lately. But ultimately, Clemson, they control their own destiny. So nothing left for me to say on that. I gotta go with Clemson at number 6. Okay, let's see what we have here. Spots 3, 4, and 5. We're probably gonna have disagreements, but this is my opinion. I'm sticking to it. Wisconsin Badgers at number 5. Had a tough time with Illinois before they ultimately pulled away. They won 24-10 in Champaign. Now they got to go to Bloomington against Indiana. I mean, no disrespect to what Wisconsin's done this year. They're number 5 in my book. They're unbeaten. But like I said, they should have had an easier time with Illinois. But they did win. That's all that matters. At Indiana next. Oh boy, do they have a tough schedule coming up. Then they got Iowa coming in. They got Michigan coming in. And then they got to go to Minnesota. So if Wisconsin, who currently leads the West, they have a 2-game lead over Northwestern and Nebraska in the West. I mean, it's looking like they're probably going to win the West and represent the West in the Big Ten title game. And then we'll see what happens when it comes to the East side. Because, you got Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State. one game separating those three teams. Michigan, a couple games back. So we'll see what happens. But I like Wisconsin at number 5. So nothing more to say. Wisconsin 5, MF.
Man, you're really tempting me to disagree with you on that one, Florio. However, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to agree with you on this one. Wisconsin is number 5, yes. I mean, they definitely deserve to be there, no doubt about it. It was a great win. It was a great thing that we would say, and I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. So yeah, number 5 is Wisconsin. My number 4. Okay, this is tough because it's either Ohio State or Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. And all right, 9 times out of 10, this is probably where I'm going to go with Notre Dame. However, Notre Dame was dominating in their victory over NC State, where Ohio State pulled the proverbial rabbit out of the butt to beat Penn State. Normally, I would give this to the Big Ten, but I'm not pulling the trigger. Ohio State, you're my number 4, and I got to give you that spot there, and I know I'm going to really tick off Buckeye Nation. Buckeye Nation's probably going on their computers right now, sending all the hate mail, typing like that crazy Kermit the Frog meme when they just heard something got so offensive, saying, "Oh yeah, watch this. Watch, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to get flooded with the inbox in just a matter of minutes. Ohio State fans are going to be flipping out on me right about now." So, number 4, Ohio State. Anthony, go.
You got it, baby. Ohio State Buckeyes, number 4. I thought we were going to have a disagreement on that, but wow, I'm surprised. Great way to start off the tough stretch for Ohio State. I mean, that coming behind win against Penn State a week ago. Big-time trap game at Iowa on Saturday. It does not get any easier. Then they got Michigan State coming in the following week. And then they have an easy one against Illinois at home. And then, of course, the big one, Thanksgiving weekend in the Big House at Michigan. We'll see what this Ohio State team is made of. Right now, they control their own destiny because they lead the East Division in the Big Ten. They have a proverbial 2-game lead over Penn State because they're a game ahead of them now. Technically 2 if you count the head-to-head win. If they beat Michigan, if Ohio State, keeps taking care of business, I think we'll see Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game again. So they control their own destiny. Iowa, I think, is their biggest threat because I think they'll hold serve against Michigan State at home. They'll have an easy time with Illinois because Illinois is terrible. I'm sorry, MF. I think they're going to kick the door down in the Big House and make themselves at home. Sorry to say. So to me, it is Ohio State at number 4, which means my number 3, no doubt about it, it's the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Wow. Just wow. That's all I can say. I mean, since that demoralizing loss to Georgia, easy wins at Boston College, at Michigan State, at home against Miami of Ohio, at North Carolina. But the last 2 weeks, the most impressive. Blowout wins over USC and NC State. Wake Forest is next. I think they'll get it done. And then next week, the biggest threat of all at Hard Rock Stadium against the Miami Hurricanes. Oh, Nelly, am I scared of that one. And then the Navy comes in after that. Senior Day on the 18th. And then Thanksgiving weekend, they end the year against Stanford in Palo Alto. They can get by Wake Forest, but the other three, especially two of those final three on the road, especially at Miami, that's the one I'm the most scared of. Navy, don't take them lately. Navy 6-2. Well, actually, no, I stand corrected. But Navy's a good team. They were previously ranked. And Stanford, Bryce Love, in Palo Alto, not going to be easy. Do your job, guys. I said it earlier. I'll say it again. Do your job. Keep fighting. Keep soldiering up. We keep doing what we're doing. We reach uncharted territory for the first time in years. I do not want this ride to end. We're this close to the finish line. Keep your eyes on the prize. That's all there is to it. Notre Dame Fighting Irish, number 3. MF, how about it?
Agreed. Notre Dame, number 3, no doubt. Number 2, the Maiden Georgia Bulldogs. Even though they are number 1 in the college football playoff, look, they've done really well. And yes, I think that Notre Dame victory is the reason why they are number 1. Because, look, Alabama has played a lot of cupcake teams. There hasn't been that many good games at all. And that's why they are definitely number 1 worthy, that they would be number 1 worthy in at least the college football playoff. But for me, Bama's deserving of the number 1 spot. They deserve the number 1 spot. I believe they have done so much good this season. So number 2 in the power poll is Made in Georgia. Anthony, go.
Yep. Made in Georgia Bulldogs, number 2. 42-7 beat down of Florida in Jacksonville, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. I mean, they have been very dominant. I mean, they've had blowout wins of their own. Since they beat Notre Dame by 1. I mean, every game this year, with the exception of the Notre Dame game, Georgia has won by at least 20 or more in every other game. Scary. Notre Dame's the only team that's given Georgia any real fits. Other than that, Georgia, roll. That's all there is to it. South Carolina next. Ooh, but their next 4, not easy. South Carolina at home. Don't take South Carolina lightly. They're playing well right now. The next game, though, another game of the week next week at Auburn. In Auburn. Trap. That's their biggest threat. And then they're at home against Kentucky. Don't take Kentucky lightly. Kentucky's actually playing good, too. And then the rivalry game at Georgia Tech. That's a trap game, too, because Georgia Tech's a good team, too. So if this Georgia team's going to prove they're for real, let's see how they do against big-time competition. They lead the East Division in the SEC. South Carolina and Kentucky are their biggest threats. South Carolina 4-2, Kentucky 3-2. The other 4 teams, no need to worry about them. They're done. South Carolina, Kentucky's left. You beat South Carolina, you control your own destiny. Then it will really come down to that Auburn game. No doubt about it. And then we'll see what happens with Kentucky. So, a magical year for Georgia. Let's see what they're made of. Made in Georgia Bulldogs, number 2, which only means one thing. Number 1, yet again, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Roll Tide, roll. The team that really should be number 1 in the college football playoff rankings. You just heard our top 4. Committee got 3 of the 4 right, just in the wrong order. To me, Alabama should be 1, Georgia should be 2, Notre Dame, we agree at 3, and number 4 should be Ohio State, especially back against Penn State. So Alabama rolled, easy win over Tennessee. Boy, has Tennessee disappointed me. they've just been steamrolling competition all season long. Their only real threat was Texas A&M in Texas A&M, 27-19. But other than that, double-digit wins all year long. They lead the West. They got Auburn and LSU right behind Mississippi State, Texas A&M. But I think it ultimately will come down to the Iron Bowl, honestly. They get by LSU. Then they got to go to Mississippi State. Mississippi State back in the polls. Home game against Mercer. Come on. And then, of course, the big one, the Iron Bowl. And it's at Auburn this time around. You know what happened years ago, 4 years ago. The greatest Iron Bowl game ever. Chris Davis, kick 6. We'll see what happens, but that's later this month. That's going to be part of our football feast in a few weeks. Can't wait for that. So, nothing more to say. Number 1, Alabama Crimson Tide. And that's it. Strictly Sports College Football Thursday in the books for this week. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow night for NFL Friday, and oh boy. Not only the games, but wow, 2 big news stories coming out. Jay Ajayi traded to the Philadelphia Eagles, and sad news for the Houston Texans. Deshaun Watson tearing his ACL in practice today, done for the year. We're definitely going to address both of those issues, no question about it, as well as go through the remaining games of the week. Not the start I wanted for this week, as the New York Jets beat my Buffalo Bills tonight, 34-21 at MetLife. But, it is what it is. Take it on the chin. So that's NFL Friday night. And then Monday night, we got Ridiculously Raw. Continuing the road to the Survivor Series. And, of course, I'll give you my thoughts on not just 205 Live and Impact Wrestling, but I'll give you some brief thoughts about Bound for Glory. Bound for Glory, their biggest event of the year, their WrestleMania, if you will, this Sunday night in Ottawa, Canada. And I'll give you my brief thoughts on the results of that show. I'm not going to do any reviews because I don't have the capabilities of seeing that show. I wish I did, but I don't. So I'll give you some thoughts about the show. Don't get me wrong. Okay. Cerebral Smack Talk Tuesday night. This show just got big. If you didn't hear the news today, originally, AJ Styles was scheduled to compete against Rusev in a Survivor Series qualifying match. Scratch it. That ain't happening. Instead, AJ Styles is going to be challenging Jinder Mahal for the WWE Championship. That's right, championship match, Tuesday night on SmackDown Live. You know we're going to have a lot to say about that come Tuesday night on the Cerebral Smack Talk. Major implications in that one. Think about it. If AJ Styles wins the title, he's got a date with Brock Lesnar at the Survivor Series. Whoa, Nelly. So we'll see what happens with that. College Football Thursday next week. Another huge slate of games. Notre Dame and Miami, Georgia and Auburn, just to name a couple. And then next Friday, NFL Friday, of course. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for NFL Friday, it's Anthony Floyo here. For Good Old MF Michael Fletcher. For Michael Bullock. And in spirit, Didi Woodson and Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday. And until tomorrow night for NFL Friday, you've been watching Strictly Sports College Football Thursday right here on the Zone 25 on YouTube.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio. So long.